Hey, David Wygant here. Monday, July 3rd. We're about to indulge on the July 4th holiday tomorrow, which is going to mean cotton candy, s'mores, marshmallows, too many beers, all this disgusting stuff that I don't put that in my body. I don't remember the last time I had a piece of sugar. As a matter of fact, I don't do well on sugar, and people always feel guilty having cake around me. I don't understand that. It was my birthday the other day, and my daughter and I had a wonderful time, and the waiter came out with a piece of cake. And I looked at him and I said, "Who ordered that?" And he looks at me and he says, "Your daughter did." I said, "Interesting. She's 6 3/4. How did she order that?" He goes, "I just kind of read what she thought you would want." And I looked and I said, "I don't do sugar." And the guy looked at me like I was out of my mind. "It's your birthday. Let your hair down." And I'm like, "Why should I let my hair down? I don't do sugar. It doesn't work for my body." And I literally told him, when I eat carbohydrates, too many carbohydrates and too much sugar, my resting blood sugar count goes way too high. My body doesn't like it. When I don't eat the stuff, my resting blood cell count is fine. End of story. He looked at me like I was out of my mind. Resting blood cell, resting blood sugar, I don't understand any of that stuff. So today we're going to enlighten all of you because I've got a doctor on the line because I figure a lot of you will become sugar beeraholics tomorrow, eat some really disgusting things, and, well, I just want to scare the shit out of you, literally. Michael Greger is on. Michael Greger is a doctor from D.C., wrote a book. Michael, what is that last book? Because I think if it comes out of your mouth, it might scare them even more than it comes out of my mouth.
My latest book is How Not to Die.
You know, I like the title, How Not to Die, because I turned 55. When I turned it, the week before was like pure hell. Oh my God, I'm 55. Meanwhile, I take my shirt off at the beach and I look like I'm 25 years old. I take great care of myself. I work out all the time, but I do have some brain fog days, and I do understand that if I don't take my supplements or eat correctly, I know where the brain fog is coming from. It came from whatever I put into my brain, my gut, the day before. So I get it. I got it. I understand. So tell me, how did you become so passionate about what you do? What is it about preventing people from dying? Are we supposed to live forever, or is there just a way that we can live and really function so much better?
Well, it's not how to not die, but no keys to immortality here, but how not to die, as in prematurely, in pain after long chronic disabling illness. The good news is that we have tremendous power over our health, destiny, and longevity. The vast majority of premature death and disability is preventable with a plant-based diet and other healthy lifestyle behaviors. And for me, it really began as a kid with my grandmother. And I think the spark for many kids that want to become a doctor when they grow up is, watching a grandparent get sick or even die. But for me, it was watching my grandma get better. I was just a kid when the doctors sent my grandma home in a wheelchair to die. She was diagnosed with end-stage heart disease. She already had so many bypass operations, basically run out of plumbing at some point. Confined to wheelchair, crushing chest pain, her life was over at age 65. But then she heard about this guy, Nathan Pritikin, one of our early lifestyle medicine pioneers. And what happened next is actually detailed in Pritikin's biography. He talks about Frances Greger, my grandmother, as one of the death's door people who arrived in a wheelchair and put her on a plant-based diet. 3 weeks later, she was walking 10 miles a day thanks to a healthy diet. Even though she got her medical death sentence at age 65, she was able to enjoy another 31 years on this planet till age 96 to enjoy her 6 grandkids, including me. That's why I went to medical school. That's why I practice the type of medicine I practice today, lifestyle medicine.
I love that. I love how, it's funny because I've been coaching for 20 years. The reason why I coach is because my mother was a, thoroughly depressed human being her entire life. So I was literally her coach since I was a kid. Not exactly something that we need to have as a child, but because of that experience, it made me very in tune with the power of healing. So it's interesting how we go about and find things. So are you only plant-based? I mean, there's no zero meat involved. What about fish? I mean, I've done the plant-based diet, and the problem is I don't fill up, and then I eat the rice, and then the rice takes my blood sugar, from 88 to 93 up to 117 when I go get my blood work done. I just can't do the carbs, so I walk around with no energy, and I crash every day at 5 o'clock.
Well, I mean, your blood sugar is supposed to rise after you eat. It's fasting blood sugar.
I'm talking. It was my fasting blood sugar when I was on that plant-based diet, and it was too many carbohydrates. It would stay elevated. My body and carbs don't do well at all. My body does really well with lean protein and vegetables. I mean, I could take my fasting blood sugar down to the low 80s. If I go 6 months on just, lean protein and vegetables, consistently throughout my day. So that plant-based diet also made me feel at 5 o'clock where I was feeling dizzy and not enlightened, not sharp at all. I wouldn't be hungry. I'd feel foggy throughout the whole day. So,
well, there's no protein leaner than legumes, right? Beans, split peas, chickpeas, and lentils. You want lean protein, you certainly can't beat it. And of course, then not only you get the protein, but you get the fiber and the folate and the phytonutrients, all the things you're missing out on from animal-based sources. I mean, it doesn't matter what you have on your birthday or holidays or special occasions. It's the day-to-day stuff that adds up. It's like these social smokers who can light up, a few times a year at a party. I mean, that's not. I mean, your body can heal from insults. But on a day-to-day basis, the more we can center our diets around whole plant foods, the better.
Interesting. Okay, because I agree. I think any food that fuels our body. To me, I eat for the sake of just fueling my body. I mean, I just had a lunch of black beans, a couple of eggs, carrots, and turnips, a little bit of coconut oil for fat. So did it taste great? Yeah, to me it was fine, but I've made it for other people and they look at it and it's almost like not enough salt, not enough pepper, not enough this, not enough that. I don't really care because my body, I look at it as a car. I'm putting fuel in it. Food is not really a huge experience for me anymore. I don't crave anything really, because it's just really, to me, it's just moving forward in life and having the energy and strength to do all the things that I do. So you're finding that, what about, because there's all these diets, the FODMAP diet, for people that have IBS and, then they can't digest beans. And it seems like everybody has something that's so broken in their systems from so much processed food that we grew up on and so much of the other stuff. So how does somebody who has a lot of trouble digesting things, how do they get healthy first so then they can go on this amazing plant-based diet so they can really heal themselves even more?
Certainly agree with the processed foods. Right, we're not talking about junky diets, whole plant foods, no processed junk. And in fact, the meal you described sounds great, except for the eggs and the coconut oil. But in terms of digestive issues, it's typically a microbiome issue. I mean, if you don't feed your good gut bacteria, you foster the growth of these bad bacteria like the bacteria that create TMAO, this trimethylamine oxide, when people eat eggs and other sources of choline or red meat, sources of carnitine. But, if you have healthy enough gut flora, you can eat all the steak you want. You don't make any of this trimethylamine oxide because you've been, fostering the growth of fiber-eating bacteria found only in whole plant foods. And you may have to go slow. I mean, someone who's been slathering their guts with milkshakes and cheeseburgers their whole life can't, do a 180 and sit down to a lentil quinoa salad or something. And I mean, some people may be able to have that kind of digestive flexibility, but most people have to take it slow. Because your gut microbiome has to switch over from whatever it was eating before to starting to digest the right fuel for it, which is fiber-containing foods. And so I, encourage people to go slow. You can do, a few spoonfuls of beans a day till you can work up to the recommendation of the American Institute for Cancer Research, which is a serving of legumes at every meal. So like beans 3 times a day.
Wow. Okay, so interesting you mentioned something about coconut oil, because coconut oil for the last couple of years was touted as this incredible fat. You should be eating spoonfuls of it because your brain is just going to be so alive and it's going to prevent Alzheimer's. I mean, I literally can show you a website that has like 65 great things on coconut oil, besides a natural sunscreen to all that. So you kind of had that coconut oil I felt that coconut oil kind of feeling coming over you, and I think this is something that's probably going to be wildly debated now because each superfood that was crowned a superfood turns out to be something toxic 3 years later. So what is it about coconut oil that makes you feel that it's not good, or was it just...
Well, I can guess who runs that website. It's someone who's selling coconut oil. Anyone selling any so-called superfood is going to be touting its benefits and minimizing its harms, or not even mentioning them. And look, just last week there was a presidential advisory from the American Heart Association coming out very strongly, reiterating what the adverse effects of saturated fats on one's LDL, number one dietary risk factor for number one killer of men and women heart disease. And so you eat coconut oil, or the primary sources of saturated fat, which is meat and dairy, number one dairy, number two chicken actually in this country, and then kind of on down the list, your LDL goes up, increases your risk of heart disease, number one killer disease in this country. In fact, look, there's only one diet ever been proven to reverse heart disease, and that's a plant-based diet. And so, anytime anyone tries to sell you on some new diet, you just have to ask yourself, well, wait a second. You ask them, has this diet been proven to reverse, heart disease, the number one reason me and all my loved ones will die? If the answer is no, why'd you even consider it? If that's all a plant-based diet could do, reverse the number one killer of men and women, shouldn't that kind of be the default diet until proven otherwise? And the fact that can also be useful in preventing, arresting, or reversing other leading killers, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, would seem to make the case for plant-based eating just simply overwhelming. This is not cherry-picking science. No other diet has ever been proven to reverse heart disease in the majority of patients. It's hard to cherry-pick when there's only one cherry.
Yeah, it's interesting because I have known people who have had really bad bouts of cancer, and they went on a full plant-based diet, and they juiced and a lot of other things, and they eliminated so much other stuff, and they literally reversed their symptoms. I've met people, I've talked, I've been all over the world, and I've never heard somebody say to me either, wow, I had cancer, so I just started pounding more hamburgers. It was more like, I got cancer, and I started juicing, and I started eating plant-based diet, and I started eating all this other stuff, and everything started feeling better inside me. So I do agree with you in that sense. But what about, and this is something that's interesting because a lot of people have this misconception of a plant-based diet, especially men who are workout people, that they feel like if they eat the plant-based diet, they're going to emaciate down to nothing, because they're not getting their meat. Or, a lot of athletes will talk about it, the chicken diet. Remember Wade Boggs when he played baseball? He had the chicken diet, right? And it's associated with, as a male, that we need to sit there in order to be big and strong and powerful. We must be eating our meat. We must be eating our protein. We must be eating, this dairy and all this. And I don't do dairy. I have eggs once in a while, and they really don't do well with me to begin with. I just had them in the fridge, and they were about to expire, and I didn't want to be late for our call to go out and get food, so I ate what was in my house, and I just was craving it because I worked out. So what is it? How can we put the rest to all these big men out there that think that they're going to turn into waif men because they're not eating their steak and potatoes anymore?
Well, if you stand back, if you think about it, think about some of the strongest, most muscular animals on the planet, like 800-pound gorilla, right? All they do is eat plants all day, right? Rhinoceroses, elephants, the biggest, these are massive, hundreds of pounds of muscle, and it's all from plants. All essential amino acids. Every single one comes from plants, and any that you get from the cow is because the cow ate the plants. It all originates in the cow. We can kind of cut out the middle moo by getting our essential amino acids, the building blocks of protein, straight from the source. And the reason that's beneficial is because then it's because of the baggage that comes along the protein. Sure, dairy has calcium, beef has iron, pork has protein, right? But what is the baggage that comes with it? With that comes the saturated fat, trans fats, sodium, whereas the quote-unquote baggage that comes along with the protein in plant foods, the fiber, the potassium, phytonutrients, the antioxidants, right? And so it all comes as a kind of a package deal. We should think of food as a package deal. The food industry loves to convince people it's all about nutrients, right? Because then they can slap on now with vitamin D onto their front of their Fruit Loops box, right, and make it look healthy. But no, food is a package deal. Yes, that Fruit Loops has vitamin D in it, but all the other crap that's in it, right? So we should get our nutrients from the healthiest sources, the least polluted sources, and that's from as low on the food chain as possible, which is centering our diets around whole plant foods.
Interesting, because you're inspiring me to put a whole new diet into effect, because I always have an intent, for every year, and I've been on the beef diet for the last 2 years because I went to somebody who told me I was type O. My whole body's a science experiment anyway. It always has been, and I enjoy it, but, it's like the type O, I'm a type O blood type, and that's the meat blood type, and then my blood work is actually great, but yet my fats were definitely going up, which they never have. I've always been so low in fat. My blood pressure is always low and good. I mean, there's no real warning signs except when I carb out. That's just the way my body processes it. And then the fact of the matter is, when some doctor tells you that your blood sugars are too high and potentially you can get type 2 diabetes, you start to look at your diet and realize, well, what am I turning into sugar? And I realized what it was. So hence, I no longer, when I'm driving or when I walk into the market, I no longer grab that bag of potato chips that took the edge off because I was hungry after a workout. So I don't carb out, and I actually feel 1,000 times better and a lot clearer. So I think you're kind of motivating me to go on a bean diet. What would a breakfast look like on this? So, what does breakfast look like on a plant-based diet? Is it a shake? Is it nuts? Because nuts don't do me well. So share with everybody that way, because there are a lot of people out there that are eating the oatmeal and they're eating this and they're eating that and they're having eggs in the morning and power shakes with eggs and weird food combos. So what does a plant-based diet look like for breakfast, the first meal of the day?
Well, there's actually a lot of cultures around the world that do beans for breakfast. Kind of the British are famous for it, but in India, a traditional breakfast is something called idli, which are these little kind of lentil patties, lentil cakes. In Japan, traditional breakfast miso soup, which is kind of a bean-based soup. But more traditional things, any hummus, any of the bean dips. You can scramble tofu, though that's more processed than the whole legumes. I think a whole grain oatmeal is a fantastic choice. Add some dried fruit, some nuts. You can mash some big white kidney beans, those cannellini beans, in with the oatmeal. You wouldn't even know the difference. And yeah, you could do smoothies, green smoothies, lots of vegetables and fruit blended up. That would be an excellent way. Greens for breakfast, the healthiest vegetables. Berries, the healthiest fruits. That's making me hungry.
How do you feel about these plant-based protein powders that are out there now? I mean, I've got some sits here. The Organic Garden of Life, pea protein with brown rice and all the other stuff. I mean, how do you feel about all these protein powders that people are, now putting in their bodies, consistently? Because, I mean, I know one of my best breakfasts is a scoop and a half or two of almond butter and some protein powder, and I blend it up with a lot of water and I drink it down, and I feel fine for 4 or 5 hours. I mean, it's easy for me.
Yeah, but I mean, so eating protein powder, it's like eating, it's like the table sugar of the carb kingdom or the vegetable oil of the fat kingdom, right? Yeah, okay, you're getting protein, but you're missing out on all the other nutrition. So you take something like, split peas, where they get pea protein from, you remove all the fiber, you remove all the nutrition, just left with the pea isolate protein. Okay, fine, there's the protein, but you're missing out on all that nutrition. That's a highly processed food. Can you think of something more processed than something like a protein powder? So for people railing against, I don't eat table sugar, that's way too processed. You start out with a sugar beet, which is actually a really healthy food, but then you remove all the nutrition, you're left with table sugar. Oh, why would you do that, right? You're robbing all the nutrition out of the food. Well, that's what protein powder is. You take out all the nutrition, and you're left with just, the protein component, which, yeah, can keep you alive, but whole foods is really the way to go.
Yeah, interesting. It's funny, I never thought of it that way, and it's interesting because I always thought, I'm healthy and I do this and I do that, and I don't realize I start my day off most of the time with green or red powder, which probably strips out some of the stuff that's in there, so that's basically processed, but yet it says organic across it and all phytonutrients and all the the marketing words out there. And even though I'm smart, I can't put two and two together when it comes down to it. And then here I am throwing in some, collagen protein or some other protein because it's, going to be good for me this way. But you're 100% right. It's the new processed food. And I never even looked at it that way. I looked at it as, well, it's healthy, so it must be good. But it's the new way that they market it, healthy. It's no different than, do you remember in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s when they had the fat-free craze, so you had all those
Snackwell cookies.
Yes,
right? That's the classic example. Look, the food industry doesn't give a damn. They will sell you junk food. They'll sell you low-carb junk food. They'll sell you low-fat junk food. They'll sell you paleo junk food. They'll give you gluten-free junk food. They don't give a damn. They will sell you any kind of junk you want because real food doesn't make any money. Real food is perishable. Real food goes bad. Real food doesn't have a shelf life. Real food doesn't make your shareholders rich. But unfortunately, that's the healthiest food out there. No one's making a profit on it other than us profiting. Our own health, our own family's health is profiting. But unfortunately, it's not good for big business. You're never going to see an ad on TV, on the Super Bowl for sweet potatoes. Like, there's just no money to be made there. But these snack industries, these supplement industries, these are multi-billion-dollar industries, and they have no scruples. They'll say any kind of crap that you want that you're willing to buy.
So true. It's so interesting. I never, like I said, that's a whole different perspective, and I'm glad I actually talked to you now because now I got a whole different goal in mind. I'm going to throw out my powders, and I'm going to go back to the whole foods and eat the stuff. I mean, as me personally, I can't digest oatmeal. It just makes me feel lousy all day long. I don't know what it is. Even when I do the gluten-free oatmeal, there's just something that just makes me feel strange all day from oatmeal. Even though I do like the way it tastes, it just doesn't. It goes to my gut and has a party down there that I don't understand. So, but I'm looking at these powders that are around me right now in my office, right? My mid-afternoon snack, and I'm like, I think I'm done. I think you enlightened me today because here I am, an advocate of health and being healthy and getting blood work done often and working out a lot, but yet I'm putting in the processed food every single day. And I thought organic, at least, and protein, more protein powders and all the other stuff. And it blows me away. And I'm sure you probably don't like all those healthy, so-called healthy bars that are out there. What do you feel about those? Terrible bars.
God. Right. They're right. And in fact, a lot of the so-called healthy bars, primary ingredient is this organic brown rice syrup, which is not only basically just sugar, but arsenic contaminated because the arsenic's in the rice concentrated in organic brown rice syrup. So some of these like gel shot or gel cubes, that a lot of athletes, because it sounds nice, organic brown rice syrup. What could be bad at that? Not only is it pure sugar, but it's sugar contaminated with arsenic, just like, high fructose corn syrup can be contaminated with mercury due to the processing. So what the irony is, here's people, these are the people that are, that are actively taking care of themselves. These aren't the people that are just shoving shit in their mouth and they're totally not even thinking about it. These people actually want to be healthy, but they've been tricked by these kind of marketing ploys because, again, real food just really doesn't make anybody money. They think like the Apple industry, there's just no markup. You can't even brand these. Even a broccoli grower is not going to put an ad on TV for broccoli because you just will buy their competitors' broccoli, right? Because it's not a brand, it's not patented. It's just, you just can't make money off this stuff. And so it's just out of the cultural consciousness. But if you look at the science, we have this decades of tremendous science showing that, fruits and vegetables have these tremendous life-altering qualities, but it just never makes it out into the commercial sphere because it doesn't make people money.
Well, this was enlightening to me, I got to tell you, because I'm probably healthier than most people, and yet I'm still putting crap into my body. Because I actually read the ingredients on those bars. There's like one or two that actually just has simple ingredients to it. And none of the brown rice, because I know about the brown rice syrup and all the other stuff, and I try to look for things that have minimal sugar, because the more sugar it has, the more processed stuff is in there. But you know what? I'm not going to do any of those bars. I'll just snack on real foods. But what about, when you're hungry, for the people that get hungry in the middle of the day, what do you suggest? Let's leave it to them, because Right now, they're probably thinking like, oh man, what do I eat then? I've been grabbing those Lara bars, which are terrible, by the way. You know?
Well, look, Lara bars are better than others. I mean, at least it's kind of whole foods. It's basically like, what, date paste and some nuts or something in there. Okay, look, that's better than most of the crap people are eating. But those key ingredients are basically kind of a trail mix thing where, nuts, dried fruits, lots of energy, concentrated sources of calories and get people over kind of the hump. But any whole plant foods, whether it's reaching for a piece of fruit. I mean, people tell me all the time, oh, it's just, I'd love to eat healthy, but it's just not convenient. Wait a second. Anyone who doesn't think you can eat healthy and has never met an apple. I mean, what could be more convenient than it's got edible packaging. It's just like sitting in front of you, right? I mean, there's just no excuse not to choose healthier options.
I agree. All right. So you enlightened me today. Hopefully you enlighten all the listeners. So where can they reach you and find out more about you?
They can come to the website, nutritionfacts.org. Everything on the website is free. There's no ads, no corporate sponsorship, strictly non-commercial. I'm not selling anything. Just put it up there as a public service, as a labor of love, as a tribute to my grandmother.
I love it. Michael, you've been a pleasure today, and I really appreciate it. For all the rest of you, if you want to learn more about health, go to his website. I mean, it's all out there. There'll be a link right where you found the podcast. For the rest of you, tomorrow is the 4th of July. Hopefully we scared a little bit of sense into you as you reach for that Pabst Blue Ribbon and you reach for those bag of marshmallows and you eat the meat that's not organic and you eat all this bad stuff for you. Take a look. Maybe it's not just the holiday that you're eating that way. Maybe it's that way every single day. Maybe it's time to make a change because I'm inspired and you all know how I feel about health. I love it, I preach it, I own it, and even today I was enlightened, got my reality kicked. Come back tomorrow for real, radical self-help that doesn't suck on the 10-Minute Daily Reality Check.